What's going on, people? Welcome to Mastering Khords, sponsored by Editor's Keys. Oh, that's good. All right, so today is probably the most important Friday chord video that we've done so far. Today we're going to talk about inversions. And inversions, in my opinion, are the most important concept to grasp and practice and understand and be intimately understanding of what they are, how to use them, and why we use them. So in a nutshell, an inversion is a different way, a different voicing of playing one of the chords that we've talked about up to this point. And what we do to play it is we take the lowest note of that chord and we move it up an octave. And that's how you create an inversion. And you can create another inversion by then taking the then lowest note and move that up an octave, and that creates another inversion. We're going to talk all about it. We're going to do some examples. But the key with inversions, not only do you get a different sound for the chord, but more importantly is you have different ways of playing a chord, which allow you to be able to go from one chord to another without having to jump around so far on the piano. That's the most important thing. So let's take a look. I have a new way to do this. Command 1. Boom. Look at that. Command 1 rather than using the mouse. So we can quickly go from this to this to this to this to this Okay. So let's write down inversions here. Inversions are what we're going to look at. Okay? So in 3-note chords, there are 2 inversions that we can look at. In 4-note chords, there are 3 inversions we could look at, and so on and so forth. I don't really think about 5-note chords with inversions too much, or even beyond that, but I suppose we can write it down. But I don't want to pay as much attention to that. I want to focus on these 2 here. So a 3-note chord, we're always starting with C major. Let's start with something different this time, right? Let's start with I don't know, E major. Okay, so this is an E major triad. I also thought real quick, I want to see what. No, I'll just leave it there. Whatever. I was thinking about moving this face thing to the top left where there's like this empty space, but no, we'll rock. All right. So what did I say? I said take the lowest note and send it up an octave. Okay. So instead of, we now have to reposition our fingers, of course. And that chord is the same chord, but it's in first inversion. So this is E major in first inversion, and then we take the then lowest note and send that up an octave. Right, so E, A sharp, and I'm sorry, G sharp. Yeah, E, G sharp, and B. So that's how you create second inversion. Let's look at another chord. Let's look at a 4-note chord. So here we have C major 7, C major 7 in first inversion, C major 7 in second inversion, C major 7 in third inversion, and then back to root. So one of the keys with inversions are to get kind of comfortable with the pattern, right? So when we look at 3-note chords, a 3-note chord, simple like a C major, pattern is note, note, no, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, right? In terms of pushing a key down, right? When we look at a second inversion, look at the pattern of notes here. More specifically, look at the pattern of white notes that are not being pressed, right? So you have a 1 here and then you have 2 here, right? So first inversion kind of has a pattern that it's like a image of something. Like it's gonna mostly, with all white notes at least, it's gonna look like this, right? Still this second interval and then a fourth interval, right? We talked about intervals before. Here is kind of the opposite of that. The two notes come first now, right? And then that. And then with four notes, as you can see what's happening, the root note is just kind of getting shifted a little bit, you know, each time. So the root note starts here. Now the root note is here. Now look where the root note goes next. It's still staying there, but it's kind of looking like it's moving left, if you will, right? And this is an interesting pattern too, where you have two notes that are right next to each other in the middle. So it's like symmetrical, right? So this type of thing is kind of important to know what it looks like and, you know, understand it. Now, the idea here is that it's going to be different when we're dealing with different, inversions. How about a sharp, right? And you don't have to rush through these either. Like, take your time, look at the notes, appreciate what's happening, right? This is C sharp major 7. And I'm like scanning the notes that I'm playing, and I know that the bottom note is moving up, and then I'm just gonna like sort of take a snapshot of these three notes and play them with the fingers that make sense to get ready for this highest note, right? Same thing again, I'm doing a quick snapshot. That's not right. That's not right. I made a mistake. There's no C sharp in here anymore. Right? Let's do that again. That's what it's supposed to be, right? There we go. So if you move too fast, you can make a mistake. Okay? So that's how you kind of handle that. Now, the reason this is important, and this kind of goes, you know, with some important things here, is like when you're playing chord progressions. So the very first chord progression we did in this series is Kanye West's Say You Will, okay? And that chord progression starts off with a C minor. I'm sorry. So C minor, and then it goes to an F major over C. So let's talk about that. To go from a C minor to an F major, C minor, and the left hand say over C means play this again. So let's talk about that. If I ask you to play a C minor, and then I ask you to play a F major, this is what we're doing, right? So look at that. We're going. But you see how we're jumping? Look at this. We're going from here to here. Now, let's write this down real quick. A C minor consists of a C, E flat. What am I doing? An E flat and G, right? These are the chords of a C minor triad. And then if we're going to an F, we're going to play an F, an A, and a C. Now, there are probably several ways that we can go about sort of figuring this out, but the most important thing that I want you to note here, I think it's very helpful to be able to write this stuff out as explaining it, because it is kind of analytical, and just saying it is sometimes not enough. So I would think about underlining the notes that are common in both chords. In this case, the note or notes that are common is a C. Okay? And when we're starting a chord progression, we want to figure out where do we want to start from. So this song is Say You Will by Kanye West. And when I first started learning this, I kind of realized, all right, I like the sound of the root C minor. Okay, I like the root C minor. So that's like our starting point. That's important because from here, we have to figure out how to play an F, A, C. We have to figure out how to play the next chord while, let me see, how do I word this? Okay, so I want to figure out how to explain this properly. So the idea here is, it's actually interesting. We're playing it in this order, so we want to be able to explore. Okay, so there's a couple things that I just picked up here. So the first thing we want to think about is, how can we play this next chord where the note that is in common, which is C, is at the same spot of the three notes that we're playing, aka we want to play this chord, but we want C to be first in the chord. And of course, our options with the three-note chord would be what? C, F, A, or C, A, F. These are the options that we have, right? One of those, let's look at what both of those are real quick. So F, A, C is F in root. What is F major in root? What is F major in first inversion? It's an A, C, F. A, C, F. Okay, that's neither of these because C is not first there. So let's look at this last one. Okay, so this last one is a C, F, A. Right, C, F, A. This one here, C, F, A. So we're thinking with this, it's probably going to make sense for us to go from root of your C minor chord to whatever inversion this is, which we just said C, F, A, is second inversion, right? So from root to second inversion probably makes sense. So second inversion. So here's what I want you to notice. We're using this C as an anchor, and the idea and the goal most of the time, although I'm going to explain why it's a little different with this song. The idea or the goal is to not have to change your fingering if possible, or not have to change your finger or fingers that are used for the notes in common. So if I'm using a thumb or my 1 for a C minor, I want to figure out, is there a way that I can still use my 1 for the next chord that I'm going to and just move whatever else I'm moving over here? And the answer is yeah, sure. We just figured that out. We can do that by playing CFA. Now, I will pause for a second though, and I think this is important that we pick this particular song. I know this song intimately, and there's no like definitive has to be this way sort of situation when we're exploring chord progressions. And I say that because with this song, I don't like the way, I shouldn't say I don't like this song. I know that the next chord, this next part of this song that we're playing here, it doesn't sound right having this note be the highest note. And I just know that from knowing the song intimately. So I don't play it this way. I play it this way. This sounds closer to the actual song, right? Right? So I know that that's better. So in this case, that's not doing what I just said we're trying to do, right? We are having to change our finger that's used here. Or, I guess technically you could do this if you wanted, but no, I just do this. And it's okay because it's a slow song, right? So it's fine to be able to do that. So I'll pause for a second. That is how we sort of handle, inversions in a nutshell, is we explore. And typically, if you're learning, using a paper, using a whiteboard, super helpful, as you can see. Additionally, what I kind of started doing, and I don't even know if this is like the best way or whatever, but it's just another way that you can look at it, is if I know I'm going from C minor to F major, I can, and I'm not sure what all the notes are in both of those chords off the top of my head, I can play this with my right hand, and I can play the chord that I'm going to next with my left hand over here, just to see. And I'm like, okay, playing this, What notes are in common? Well, looks like C. All right, cool. And if I know that in this case that C is here, I know that in this case, I want to play that where C is all the way on the left. How to get C all the way on the left? Take these two notes, move them up an octave. We just said that. So I'm like, oh, okay. So now all I'm doing is just playing C and then these notes, C, F, and A. Right? That type of thing. So hopefully that makes sense. I think we can do another example. Let's see. And this is another, well, let me actually just pull up something in Ultimate Guitar Tabs or something like that. Like, let's actually pull something up from scratch. So like, let's also talk about, you know, the Google Sheet that we have, and I'm working on something else really special for me and for you guys. It's something that is going to be super helpful for all the stuff we're doing, and we'll be able to all use it together. I'll talk more about it soon. But what we can do, and I just talked to my buddy just the other day. I don't know if I want to do that song because I haven't practiced it yet, and I don't know how it's going to sound in here. So we'll talk about that in a sec. But let's go to playlists, and what is it? My songs, Khordmaster sings, whatever. Let's pick one of these. All right, let's do Dancing Queen. Cool. All right, so let's look at this, right? So Dancing Queen, can we erase some of this? Or let's write a little bit more up here. I don't want to erase just yet. Or maybe we'll erase the bottom stuff, and we'll just write what we're doing down here. So I'm just going to write a few chords for Dancing Queen, all right? And we're going to talk about it. So Dancing Queen wants us to do, you can dance, that, E. You can jive, C sharp over F. Having the time, F sharp minor of your life, D sharp diminished. Ooh, let's just stop right there. All right, so here's the deal. These websites where you get your chord progressions or your lead sheets or whatever are not going to tell you what inversions to play these in. So if we're playing, forget about the /F for a second. Let's just look at these all 3-note chords, right? E major, C sharp major, F sharp minor, D sharp diminished. We learned all these already, right? Check the playlist if you're not sure how to play any of these. But if we played all these in root, and perhaps it's a good idea to do just that, right? Play them in root first to familiarize yourself with the notes in each of these chords just the first time. So let's do that. So you can dance. So E major to C sharp major to F sharp major. Oh, F sharp minor to D sharp diminished. What is D sharp diminished? D sharp diminished. Right there, right? D sharp diminished. So again, E major, C sharp major, F sharp minor to D. So I think this is actually helpful to do it. To do it this way, play it a few times. Play it again. E major, C sharp major, F minor, D diminished. Okay, so now let's put it together. Try putting it together. So if we're going from E, and don't be afraid to use your other hand too, just to see, right? So C sharp. So this is what I'm looking at here. I'm looking at E, and then I'm looking at C sharp. And when I look at C sharp, I'm looking at, all right, scanning, what notes are in common? Well, in this case, the note that is, looks like there's one note that's in common, which is this note right here, right? G sharp. So I want to be able to play a C sharp, but I want the G sharp in this chord to be in the middle. Pretty easy to think about how to do that because the G sharp is on the right now. To make it in the middle, we invert the chord and take the lowest note and move it up. Boom. Now, with this, we look at what we're playing and we're trying to get to this. And getting to this is a little bit easier because we're keeping this one note the same. And now all we care about is these outer notes. And it's these. Right? Right? That's it. That's how we go from a E to a C sharp major. But it's C sharp major over F. So in this case, E. Now, from here, let's look at what we do next. We can do the same thing. We can do this, but, and I am doing it here, but I think what's noteworthy with this is to go to F sharp next. I'm like a little trick or something we can think about is the fact that to go from where we're at to an F sharp minor, it's pretty much implied that this thumb is going to have to move here. And if this thumb is going to have to move here to this F sharp, it's pretty much implied that whatever other notes that we're dealing with, we're probably looking at this in root, right? So, yeah. But let me pause for a second as I'm going through this, and it's perfectly fine to do this. Think about the song. You can dance, you can jive. What did I talk about first that I didn't do just now? I didn't take a moment to play this E chord and each inversion to see how it sounds and see where we want to anchor and start our chord progression journey from for this song. I just went right with root. And that might not be the best. And I don't think it is actually as I'm playing it because I've learned this before. But maybe it is. No, maybe it is. Or let me see. That's C sharp. Why does that sound so? Oh, C sharp major. I'm like, why does that sound so weird? That sounds so tense. So let's keep going. And then D sharp diminished. So D sharp diminished. Any notes in common? Yes, this first note here. So let's send this this note is in common. And this note. So look at this. To go from an F sharp minor root to D sharp diminished, look what's happening here. This is the first time where two notes are in common. So all we have to worry about is changing this note to this note. Right? So in a nutshell, that's how if you're able to practice this, and I guess one thing that makes a ton of sense to do is start with all the white notes, but just get yourself familiar and just practice inversions of all the white notes. Like if you think about it, if you're, or just all the keys over time, right? Have a system, and we can talk about that maybe in a subsequent video. But if you think about it, 3-note and 4-note chords with all white notes and 3-note and 4-note chords with all black notes, aka just all notes in general, and being able to go from root to first inversion, second inversion, right? Like here, root, first inversion, second inversion, third inversion. All right, not too bad with C, but what about something like, I don't know, what about B, major, 7, right? It's a little different, 3 black notes. And the fingering is going to maybe be different too, right? Figure out what feels comfortable for the fingering. Right? Take your time, don't rush through it, but get comfortable. G. And one thing that you're always thinking about is with 7 chords, with major 7 chords, you're always going to be right. You're always going to have, with inversions, once you start doing inversions, you're always going to have 2 notes that are right next to each other. So if you're already here, then you know that the next one, you know, like it has to be that. Right? And then feels weird. But maybe that's how you would do it, or this way. Yeah, something like that. All right, so that was a lot that we covered in the video. Oh yeah, we could do Command 2. Boom. A lot that we covered in the video. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. I really, like I said at the beginning of the video, I really do believe that if you practice this stuff, it'll make your music journey so much more fun and rewarding. Because whether you're talking about wanting to play and sing or harmonize or hum over the songs, like your favorite songs, and you look up these chord progressions, that's super rewarding and fun to do. And then if you want to use the DNA of a song that you love listening to as like the starting point for your music production, that's extremely fun to do as well. And mastering and just getting more comfortable with this stuff will allow you to do that. And just think about it. It just opens up pretty much any any song that you have the code, you have the chords, and now learning how to be able to play them. That's my job, right? To be able to teach you guys this stuff and make it make sense. And yeah, like I said, I think this is an important video that just needed to be made. You know, the progression of, no pun intended, of the chords, learning how to play the chords, and now learning how to put them together, right? And as we move forward, we're going to talk about a lot of other things, right? We're going to talk about a lot of other things that, you know, like just every area that I find interesting, that I think is beneficial to learn. And we're going to do it, you know, progressively. And I'm excited. I'm so excited. I'm appreciative of Editor's Keys for sponsoring these videos. This is, yeah, just great content, just great education. I'm having fun with it. I'm enjoying teaching myself and retooling and learning as the week goes on, and then be able to, I don't know why I want to say regurgitate, bleh, throw it up to you guys so you guys can, you know, watch it and apply it. And so hopefully it's moving the needle with you. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the content. Plugs, Patreon, check my Patreon out. It's free to follow. There's a chat room on there. You can ask questions. And my chord progression Substack is a great place to just stay in the know. And I'm working on developing a weekly live stream as well, which I'm very excited about. That's going to be just a place to hang out, answer questions, make music based on leveraging the information that we've used so far here, practice new chord stuff as well. So it's going to be kind of those three things really. And it's going to be on Wednesdays for sure. I'll announce the time soon, so you guys can have that to look forward to, and some negotiations with some sponsors for that, which is, again, awesome, right? Because we do this, you want to make a living out of the stuff that you do, right? And YouTube ad revenue is not the move, and being able to identify sponsors that are putting their name to this product that they believe in, and still allow me to do every and anything that I want to do that I've been doing, is awesome, right? It's not I'm selling you anything. It's that this company, you know, like they feel awesome having their name tied to something. So that's cool. That's really cool. Have a great one. I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace. That was weird. I gotta do better. All right, peace.